Hey, Technostuds. You know, it's really important to limit how many times our system goes down. That's why we implement things like fault tolerance to make sure that we have a high level of availability, to limit the amount or the frequency in which things go down. Unfortunately, things still will go down on occasion. And so what we need to do is limit the time that those downtimes happen, limit the length of it. And that's where a good incident response plan comes into play. We can use a good incident response plan to respond to issues and solve issues quickly. So in this video, let's go over incident response plans. In this video, we'll start out by talking about an incident response process. We're going to get into what training and testing might look like, and then we'll finish things off talking about a root cause analysis. The incident response process can really be broken down into three different parts. One is what can be done before an incident occurs, what things need to be done during an incident, and any follow-up or cleanup that needs to happen after an incident. And so an example of the plan and how it can benefit before is if you have, let's say, a structured, detailed outline of exactly what needs to happen during this incident, it can make a chaotic situation a little less chaotic. There's a lot that happens right here that's very time sensitive. And the more we can outline who's going to be communicated to, how is it they're going to be communicated to, who's going to be in charge, who's going to do the troubleshooting, how you're going to coordinate all the efforts, having that all set up ahead of time really helps this process go much quicker and easier. The other thing that this actually does is that there might be some things that could be useful during this time only if it's set up ahead of time. For instance, maybe during the planning phase you determine that you need some baseline configurations, and that baseline configurations can help you determine if things are going to be off during this. So let's use an example of, let's say, you detect a virus or some sort of malware, or there's ransomware on your network. Something happens and we are responding to that incident. We've got our plan in place. The first thing that we need to do is be able to detect that, whether somebody is called in and say, I have an issue. Perhaps it's some sort of monitoring that we have, some sort of SIM that's monitoring things, or network analysis that's happening. So we've got something that alerts us that says, you have an issue, you have an incident. So next what we need to do is we need to analyze this issue. What's going on with it? We really scope out and dig in and try to find information. Now, things are really time sensitive, so we want to expedite trying to figure out what's happening so we can get to the containment. The containment is to stop the thing from happening from an immediate standpoint, just to stop it. So maybe you're even pulling the plug on a system. Maybe it's a ransomware that's happened, that's in process, and we need to just get it off the system so that way it's not affecting anyone anywhere else. And so we need to contain that virus, that malware. We need to contain it into a single spot, maybe by, once again, shutting down the machine. Then we need to eradicate it, somehow remove it, whether we do a system restore on that, whether we take backup and then we restore it from there. Maybe we do some sort of malware detection and get it off of there, which is not the ideal. We would rather have a clean slate and things completely fresh. But somehow we eradicate that, remove that virus completely. Then there's the recovery of getting the system up and running. I kind of split the recovery into two sections. This is the immediate recovery that happens. Just how do we get our services back up and running to full, without being infected, up and running to be in full effect. But there's a second part to this too. There's some damage that has happened where we've made some configuration changes. We need to maybe possibly back some stuff out. Perhaps we have damage that we have caused some of our users, and we need to fix all of that. And then we go into the learning mode of what are we going to fix? What are we going to do differently? How are we going to compensate for this in the future? It's not enough really just to roll out an incident response plan. Sure, we have a process, but what I've found is even if there's a process that's out there, that your employees are not necessarily going to follow that process every time, or they'll skip steps. And so really what needs to happen is a lot of training of how to use that process correctly. That, and also testing them to make sure that they can follow through that process, Because without this testing, without actually being able to figure out where the flaws in the incident response plans are, then it's not going to help you as much when you get to an issue. In that learning phase, we also do a root cause analysis. The root cause analysis is really what has happened. What was the root cause of our problem? And you just keep digging deeper and deeper to figure out what it was. Well, let's say we had a system failure and we know it was the database. Well, what in the database failed? Well, we know it was a service that went offline. Well, why did that service go offline? Well, another backup was happening at the same time and caused a problem. Well, why did backup cause a problem to this service? So you keep digging in deeper until you find out, okay, well, maybe backup was struggling because it was backing up too much information, and so we need to do some configuration changes to backup. So that's an example of a root cause analysis where you just keep digging in deeper to figure out what the root cause was and then come out with a plan of action of how to fix it in the future. In this video, we covered what that incident response looks like, what the different phases or different steps is of incident response. We talked about some training and testing that needs to happen to make sure incident response can go smoothly. And then we wrap things up by talking about the root cause analysis.